Bev's Video Kingdom is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised.
Bev's Video Kingdom is brought to you by Hasta La Vista Babysitting. This is Arnold, Hollywood megastar from Governor, California. I know what you're singing. What does Arnold know about babies? I know it all. When I was a governor, everyone come with me with problems, a bunch of babies. I always tell them, stop whining. Stop it now. I was also Detective John Kimball in that kindergarten movie. You saw how good I was with those stupid kids. So give me your babies. Mom and Dad, are you stressed out? Boss got you pushing too many pencils? Take some time away. Give your kids to me. Give me your babies. I'm here. Give them to me. Do it now. We'll do all kinds of activities. Turn that baby flab into muscle. I'll make them do push-ups and sit-ups and special games. Like, who's your daddy and what does he do? And run. Get to the chopper. I also want to exercise their minds. I want them to learn. I want to learn from them. Because my CPU is a neural net processor, a learning computer. So if you want to ever get rid of your kids, think of Arnold. Do it now. I'm here. Hasta la vista, baby. Sitting.
Do it now. Bring me your babies. That's so aggressive.
Oh, I don't think you would put the babies in the chopper.
Dude, you stuck with the accent pretty good there.
This is probably the worst accent ever. But
it might be the worst, but I enjoyed it immensely.
I loved it.
I wanna be at Beverly's, bringing me home with my movies, just a blind ride, no reason why. I love this scene. Nick Natak and Brad, your favorite podcast. Let's start this thing.
What up, BVK family? We are here, and we are on a Tuesday recording. Well, actually, it's not a Tuesday, but it's Tuesday for y'all.
I wish we could have started BVK earlier so we could be like BVK 2K. Right? Is that not cool? I just thought of that. I just thought of that on the top of my head.
I don't know. I mean, if we're going to make shirts for that or not.
BVK 2K?
I don't know.
Catch on.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
All right. Fuck you guys.
Well, folks, we're not here with the we have a modified crew today. Today we are rolling with we got Zach here. Zach, what's up?
I'm over here.
And we got on the right in front of me, looking beautiful as usual. We got Scotch Beck.
How you guys doing?
He's
Scotch
here.
Beezy.
He's here filling in. We've got a couple absences, but we are doing some things. We still are going to bring you some delicious pod. You know, that's what we do.
We took
serve
roll
it up.
We took roll earlier, and there were some fucking people absent.
Absences, but that's all right. So we are talking today about James Cameron's not his classic Avatar, not his classic Titanic, and I don't even know if those are considered classics, but I do consider this movie a classic, and that is the 1991 Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
So the two movies you named before are the highest grossing movies of all time, right?
Well, the craziest thing is that James Cameron just makes fucking money. He basically prints money when he makes movies, which is wild.
But he very rarely makes movies.
Yeah.
Look at the movies that he's directed. I mean,
well, since he did
pretty
Avatar,
wild.
but now he's planning on essentially like Avatar 2 through 97 or something.
How many movies did he direct before Avatar? Like 8?
Yeah, no, not a lot.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's a limited amount of movies that this dude's done, but you know, he did Terminator 2. He did the original Terminator. That's what kind of got him on the map. He did Aliens,
yeah.
And then he does The Abyss, which is almost like a test run for some of the graphical effects that he's going to run in T2. And then T2 in 4th of July weekend comes out.
It was such a huge deal.
A budget of $102 million. It's kind of estimated. Some people estimate it might be a little bit higher than that. But it did go on to make worldwide $520 million. So half a bill.
Which in today's money is like $800 billion or something like that.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous. So the dude made a great movie. But not only did he make a movie that made a lot of money, he made a movie that was just... It was an event. There was so many tie-ins with it. There was just so many things where this felt like one of the biggest first real summer blockbusters. I mean, that became a thing. I'm not going to say that it wasn't before, but this was a gigantic summer blockbuster
Where,
that
like-
kind of led to like the media that we see nowadays with like promotions and toy tie-ins and music video tie-ins and all that shit. I mean, this was the one that kind of really put all that shit on the map.
But this shit dwarfs the stuff that happens now. I mean, they're not doing anything like what they did for T2 nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Where
No
you
doubt.
were like captive to whatever was on the TV. And like every Taco Bell commercial or whatever it was, they had the
Where we had
cups
to
with the
watch
Terminator
commercials.
on it. Yeah, exactly. You had to watch it. And I mean, now, I don't even think they're putting anywhere near the amount of like campaigns together for new movies,
Like,
are they?
That was that back like when they were putting everything on Taco Bell cups and
Exactly.
like, running all that shit. Like you don't
Yeah.
see that hardly at all anymore. And I remember like collecting the cups and the you know all the glasses and stuff from the various fast food places.
You're like, this one's got Godzilla on it, you know?
I mean, the crazy thing is this is an R-rated movie and they're doing toy tie-ins. Like they didn't care back in the
Right.
day. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to sell the fuck out of some Terminator little toys for some kids.
But 100% devoid of any sex or sexuality or anything really, right?
Oh, in this movie, yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
violence and
So,
cussing. I mean,
so it's like it's a rated R movie, but they really shied away from the sex part of it. Like I watched it with my boys and they loved it. You know what I mean? And there was nothing in it that, you know, they even have the part where they tell the Terminator not to kill people. You know what I mean?
and there's nothing super graphic. 'Cause, I mean, this is the same time as RoboCop and I think Total Recall was the movie that Schwarzenegger did before this. So it's like those were some violent ass movies. Those were some gruesome violence.
Right.
And this has got, I mean, it's got a couple violent scenes, but it's, I mean, the fact that it's liquid metal that's getting destroyed most of the time, it's obviously not graphic.
Right. And the fact that, you know, he's a cyborg, you know, it kind of almost makes it a little bit more acceptable that he's just getting the crap blown out of him nonstop by all these cops. And,
Yeah.
you know, so it's like maybe they're like, you know, we can sell Taco Bell to kids. And, you know, it's all right. It's just a robot. It's all good.
Just a robot, no big deal.
Where was this movie? Were they supposed to be in LA?
Yeah.
That's
So-
the Los Angeles River or whatever.
I mean, he injured so many police in this movie that like their like disability fund ran out immediately after this incident, right?
Well, I mean, previously in Terminator, he murdered like 17 cops or something.
He killed a bunch of them, but this time he just maimed like tons of them, dude. Like how many dudes took shots right in the thigh or the kneecap?
Well, yeah, with that SWAT team in the building,
mean,
it's pretty bad.
It
For
was a
all of them.
lot.
So did you guys rewatch this like recently? Because
I watched it last night. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know what version you watched, but I think I got a like an extended version or something because there's
Okay.
a couple scenes I didn't remember.
They have done some extended things. The one big scene that they talked about was reprogramming him to go into learning mode, which
Right.
that was a deleted scene because I bought like
Okay.
the cool, like it was like a metallic case and it was like badass special edition. It was like, it was super cool.
Yeah, that was one of the scenes I didn't remember, but I really liked it. It was cool. And then there's another one with where Kyle from the first
Oh,
movie
in the dream.
comes into the dream. That wasn't in the original movie, right?
Right. That's
okay.
you watched an extended cut. Yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't say it when I downloaded it. That was an extended cut. I did notice it was 2.5 hours, and I go, dude, I don't remember this movie being that long.
It's the Star Wars effect, dude, where they just changed the movie and that's the only version you can get of it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So-
but Kyle and Sarah getting all hot and heavy in the cell. It was really kind of weird.
Yeah.
It was-
Oh, I did
can see
not
why they cut
see
it.
that version.
Yeah, they brought the actor back and everything for it. So it was, it was a
It was
little
Michael
little
Bain
odd.
and just they were getting all into it, and it was just. But I can see where I think they made the cut when she walks outside and walks up to the fence. I think I go, okay, that's where they made the cut in the actual theatrical version. But anyway, yeah, if you want to check out something kind of
Yeah,
weird,
because she's pretty much just immediately outside and kind of walking
Right.
towards the fence in the version that I watched.
yeah.
So this is, I believe, I don't know if this is the first R-rated movie I saw in the theater. It might have been. I know in 1991, I'm 12 years old. I may have seen an R-rated movie before this, but I definitely went and saw it with my dad without seeing Terminator. He had seen Terminator, he loved it, and so he's like, "We're checking it out." And I was bought into the hype. I was super into it. So I was all about going to it. And I remember we went to the theater on McHenry Briggsmore. We went to Briggsmore Cinema and we watched it in the big theater, which was like the sound, everything. I'm gonna get into that a little bit later, but man, it was just fucking cool. It was legit.
Yeah, this is one of those movies that I remember just changing everything. You know, it's like you come out of that thing, you're going, what did I just witness? Like those special effects were just absolutely insane, you know, and just just really thinking, how did they just do that and make this film? And it's weird because I think about it now. It's like you know, the old man thing, but like kids these days won't understand what that did, like compared to the movies before that. Like the
But my kids who have only seen the Spider-Mans and all of those movies watched this movie and never once were like, oh, that looks cheesy, or like, you know what I mean? Like never once. But I believe like the liquid metal guy, like that whole part of it, that was like pretty groundbreaking at the time.
Totally.
Right? I didn't see it until a little later, so I didn't get the like theater experience.
I didn't realize The Abyss was before this.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, because that blew my mind too. That whole, and it's the same kind of technology with the water, you know, snake going through the.
Am I wrong in that? Maybe.
I don't know. I would look on my phone, but I'm using it as a camera.
Let me check real quick. No, Abyss 1989. So yeah.
Okay.
And don't question my knowledge. I'm on a fucking movie podcast, Scotch. I'm on a movie podcast.
Shit. You guys used to be all like nice to me and welcoming. Now I'd say one wrong fucking thing and jump down my throat.
You know what? I was listening to one of our recent pods, and I when we were talking, there was it was actually the Rush pod. I was talking F1 stuff, and my family's pretty into it. They corrected me on like 3 different things.
I knew that was going to
They're 18-inch wheels, Dad, not 17-inch. I'm like, fuck, man. God.
You made a bunch of like you explained a bunch of stuff to us, and while you were explaining it, I was like, there's people on the internet that are going to be like, he was wrong about this.
There was a few things that I was wrong about, and I've already been told.
I didn't know
family's
it was
good about
if
you make a mistake and have some wrong information. We fact check the fuck out of
Melissa's going to let you know.
Actually, it's more like my son now. Like my son is
really?
like he's like, no. That's wrong.
I'm an academic decathlon champion. You can't tell me nothing.
Pretty much. All right. So, thoughts. I mean, when did you first see this movie, Zach? I mean, do you remember what it might have been?
I remember exactly where I watched it. My friend Josh's house. He lived on land or out in the country. And I remember going over there, and he was like, oh, we got T2. You want to watch it? And I was like, hell yeah, because I was younger. So I was like, this is going to be the wildest movie that I've ever seen. And I had seen Terminator 1. It was the first rated R movie I ever saw. I got my tonsils out. My mom, I was laying on the couch. My mom had to go to work. I got to stay home by myself. She like got me ice cream or whatever I could, like cold stuff that I could eat, and Terminator. I got to rent Terminator at Bez Video Kingdom.
Love it.
And so anyway, so I was hyped for T2. I remember watching it at my buddy's Josh house, and just we were blown away when the guy stabs through the milk carton. Like, dude, that was the scene that got me, like, more than any other scene in the movie. I was like, oh, this is going to be wild. And then it never really goes too far into, like, cool head stabbings after that. But,
right.
I mean, a little bit, like, when you think he's going to, like, stab her with his stabby finger at the end.
He does put his finger through the guy's, one of the cops at the insane asylum.
He does
right
the
through his
little
eyeball.
Yeah, he does the bad guy from No Country for Old Men move to him, where he just, like, pokes it right through his head.
Yeah, I mean, that I remember that when he puts that knife through the milk carton, that whole scene, because that's like the first time you really see the weapons.
The morphing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He explains right after that scene, like, oh yeah, they can turn into metal, but not bombs and guns, right?
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, which it's a funny thing. It's like they have all this crazy technology. I mean, obviously it's like liquid metal. I mean, where are the fucking electronics or batteries or whatever? It's like that's not explained, but he can't turn into guns or anything, but he can be stabbing weapons, and it's just kind of a weird dynamic. That there's a lot of loose and fast technology in this movie that they're just kind of like, yeah, we just say a couple words, polyalloy, and all of a sudden you're like, oh fuck, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's legit.
How many robots did you send back? People that can travel through time? Oh, 2. We sent 2 back. Oh, well, only 2, but I just saw thousands of them in the army there. No, we just sent 2.
Are we going to get into the?
No, I think we should talk about it before we talk to James. I mean, we don't have to body bag or anything, but
right.
I've got a body bag related to some of the.
Then let's save
issues.
it then.
But yeah, I definitely did think about the whole. There's got to be a CPU somewhere on that guy, even though he's metal or whatever. But yeah, I remember I saw this in the theater for sure. And I can't remember if I saw the first Terminator before this or not. I'm assuming I did. But it's sometimes there's, the sequels, like, Aliens, it is a lot different than Alien. Like Alien is straight up like horror and scary and, crazy. And I know I saw Aliens first and went back and saw Alien and go, this is going to be badass. And I was like, holy shit, this movie scared the crap out of me. And this is kind of like that too, in a way. There's more comedy in this. Like Terminator's like straight up just nonstop, you know.
Yeah, they call that
Yeah.
more like almost like sci-fi horror.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm not sure what I saw first, but I want to say I saw the original first, but I remember this in the theater and just being blown away. So.
All right. Well, we're going to move on now to a segment we like to call Drinking with the Director. But rather than have an actual director with us or a fake director, which we always just pretend that they're there, we are joined today, a performer, Drinking with the Performer today with our friend Mark Christopher Lawrence is here to join us. He has been in all sorts of Hollywood movies, TV shows. He's done stand-up comedy. You've probably seen him in Terminator 2. You've seen him in Fear of a Black Hat. You've seen him in Chuck, a great network show. So welcome to the show, Mark Christopher Lawrence. How you doing, man?
Thanks, Brad. Thanks for having me. I'm good.
Thank you for coming today. So really appreciate you being here. I know I want to get kind of to the point here. We're talking about Terminator 2 today. So real quick, starting off with your beginnings, you started off, grew up in Compton, California, and then transitioned to USC. So real quick, could you just tell me a little bit about that transition going from growing up in Compton and then you went up at USC, the local university pretty much?
Yeah, I had a teacher, my English teacher, got me involved in speech, and I did mostly individual events and not debate, but like oral interpretation of literature and poetry and stuff like that. And but my actual first semester in college was at San Diego State, and I was just fish out of water. I went from student body president, captain of the football team, captain of the wrestling team, to the only black guy in all my classes, and felt like, okay, I gotta get back home and see some black people. And so I went to Cerritos College for 3 semesters, and played football while I was there, and was on the speech team, and took 4 events to the national tournament, and won all 4. And I had a judge from USC in every round of every speech. And after the award ceremony, the head of the department comes over and says, "Hey, I'm Tom Holland. I want to talk to you about coming to USC." And I was like, "Well, I can't afford to go to USC." And he said, "Well, I didn't ask you for any money." and so that was like the beginning of my sort of acting career. Because once I got there, one of my coaches brought an agent to see me in a play, who was a friend of his, and she signed me. And that was my first audition. I didn't even have pictures. It's like she signed me and she paid a guy $75 to shoot pictures of me as a favor because I was totally broke. And I literally used those pictures for 11 years.
Well, they must have made you look real good, though. So they must have been pretty.
Somebody said, you still look like this, but maybe we should get some new headshots just to mix it up some.
Nice. And so you move from that. You go from one of my favorite movies, Fear of a Black Hat, and then you get. Before that, you start in Terminator 2. How did you get into to Terminator 2? Was that just an audition?
Yeah, it was an audition, and they were very secretive. It's like, normally you get the material beforehand and you look it over and you go do your audition. And they said, okay, we're not releasing the script or the sides. If you want to see it beforehand, you need to come up to the production office, which was a trek. At the time I lived in Hollywood, and so it was a trek to get over there. So I get over there, read it, go through it, do the work that I normally would do on it, and then went back home. And then the next day I went early before my audition and read through it again just so I could tighten it up and audition, and didn't hear anything. Actually, I didn't hear anything for a couple of months.
Oh, wow.
And I was actually looking through the paper, looking for a different job. There was this ad in the LA Weekly said, "Learn to deal cards." We have placement in Monaco and Reno and Tahoe and Vegas. And so I actually went to audit the class, and before the class was over, Suits came in and shut the class down. They were laundering money through this class.
Oh, what?
And I'm so glad I didn't give them my $499.
You got it back?
Yeah, well, I never gave it to him because I was auditing.
He's auditing it,
Dude. Yeah, you can audit first class for free and then pay if you want to come back. And so, literally, we could have 2 weeks later, I get a call from the wardrobe designer from Terminator 2, which, the audition had been 2 months ago, maybe 3. And she says, I need your sizes. I said, what is this for? She goes, Terminator 2. I was like, well. So I give her the sizes, and I called my agent. I said, hey, so Terminator 2, the wardrobe just called me. And she goes, yeah, we're on the phone talking to him now.
Oh, shit.
Were you familiar with Terminator prior to that? Like, had you watched Terminator 1 or?
I thought Terminator 1, I thought was the most relentless movie ever. It's like it kept you on your seat and it gave you anxiety.
Yes.
You know, like when it's crawling through that press and that hand just keeps coming.
It just keeps going. You're like, will this ever stop?
There was no way. But when Michael Biehn says to her, you have to keep running. It will come after you. It'll never stop. He meant it.
Yeah,
he was
fucking
not
around,
lying.
for sure.
He was not lying.
I was gonna say, I think in that regard, the first one is better than Terminator 2. The special effects is what makes Terminator 2 what it is.
100%.
It changed the way we watch movies.
Oh yeah,
Those special effects.
That whole summer blockbuster tie-ins, we were talking about that a little bit earlier. It's just it's crazy, like how big that movie was as far as like it was an event. Like everybody was like, we have to go see this movie because it's huge.
But I mean, Mark, at the time, how cool was it to walk around LA and just be like, oh yeah, I'm in T2. I'm in that movie.
It was really awesome, and people that didn't know I was in it, when they see it, I all of a sudden I get a phone call. People screaming on the phone, "You're in Terminator 2!"
Love it. In general, what was the mood like on that set?
James is very meticulous.
Okay.
He knows exactly what he wants to see. You know, there's no fluctuation from it. It's like, okay, we're going to shoot this, then we're going to get this, and we're going to turn it around and get this, we're going to get that, and then we're out of here. And so he was very meticulous. And then Arnold hanging out, Arnold was training a guy to be Mr. Olympia at the time. They had this big trailer with weights. That was a weight room. And this dude was like taller than Arnold and had that same physique that Arnold used to have, and, but Lee Haney crushed him. Oh, really? I don't even know if he made it to the finals that year. And I've never seen that guy again.
That's how you can be like, I was more buff than Arnold, but yet I went a different direction. That's kind of wild.
Yeah, well, Lee Haney was a beast at the time.
Yeah.
He was a beast.
I remember that guy.
So
you remember that?
I do.
So the Terminator 2 set, it lasts a long time. It probably had to kind of like, did it kind of like dilute you, like as far as like what Hollywood is like, as far as like, oh, are all the sets going to be like this, or were you just kind of like, were your expectations?
No, because my first job was Hill Street Blues.
Okay.
And so they were shooting downtown at 6th and Crocker, which at the time was really part of Skid Row. And so, but it had that New York feel and vibe to it. So that's why, they shot there. And they treated the extras kind of terrible.
Yeah.
And so one thing I got from was I was like, okay, I'm never doing that, never doing extra work because they don't treat them well. And then the other thing I got from it is that, you can't really do the project without background actors. So, whenever I'm producing, make sure I'm taking care of the background actors.
Oh yeah.
And but because of seeing that, that kind of gave me an inkling that, it wasn't going to all be hunky dory.
Gotcha.
And luckily I've only been on a couple of projects where I felt like, I just want to get my money and get out of here.
Well, that's cool. That's got to be a good experience. We've talked to a few different people who've been in Hollywood and stuff, and it's like you get that same thing where it's a job. Like sometimes you're working with good people, it's a lot of fun. Sometimes you're not, and it can be kind of a drag. So, Crimson Tide, what was that set like?
So speaking of background actors, it was like apparently they thought they were real sailors because every day there was a dice game. I get to work and go, all right, I'm gonna go take somebody's money.
Oh, that's awesome.
and one day Denzel, walks up on the game and I'm there and I got like probably $400 or $500 in my hand. And he goes, why are you taking their money? He says, we're not paying you enough. I said, I'm not taking it, they're giving it to me.
Oh, nice. That's good stuff. So moving forward from that. So
wait. We got to go back to T2. So,
I'm sorry.
So T2, do you die?
No, he got slammed in the wall.
You don't
No,
think you...
in fact, into a window. No, I'm not dead. In
Okay,
fact,
okay.
Here's why I know I wasn't dead. Because James said, "Hey, Mark, keep writhing around down there. You're not dead." And so the guy who actually hit the wall, like I hit the window.
That's right.
Fall
You're
down.
the first one that
And
gets
then the
thrown.
guy
Yeah.
hit the wall, his glasses kind of go like that, and he falls down. And he goes, "Yeah, I'll come crawling after him." And James looks at him and goes, "No, you're dead."
That's so awesome.
And there was several moments during the shooting where James kind of cut him off. I can tell he did not like that.
He's like, dude, you're dead. Lay back down, bro.
Now,
He said, "No, you're dead."
so I think I know the answer, but I'm hoping I'm wrong. Was that a stunt man or was that you getting thrown?
Yeah,
Actually,
stuntman.
man. Oh, I was hoping it was you, but
Yeah.
But
The only
Arnold,
person I know that knew it was my best friend at the time, Lennon. He's like a brother to me. You know, from the time I was like 12, it's like I was on his hip, and he went, "Yeah, that's not you. That dude is too tall. His skin is lighter. His hair is way redder. My hair is kind of red, but it wasn't as red as his. His name was
Wow.
Rusty McClendon.
okay.
But I wanted to do the stunt, but the stunt coordinator said, "Don't do it." He says, stunt guys get hurt all the time. He says, "You can act." He says, "There's nothing on the other side of that window. So if you go through the window, you're dropping three stories."
Oh, well, there you
And
go.
then
You're
I'm
like,
glad-
okay, go ahead.
but when Arnold puts
Well,
his
then I'm
hands
glad
on
I
you,
didn't do it because that mesh on the window
Yeah.
was like, it was pliable. It had like just like this rubber stuff on it, and he didn't get his hands up fast enough, so he's got like had a little waffle mark on his face.
oh,
And I was like, "Whoo!" I would have burnt my face.
Yeah, but you would have been able to tell all the ladies, you see this? This is from Arnold. You see that? You see that right there?
That's what I'm
Arnold gave me
saying.
that.
When Arnold put his hands on you, were you like, man, this guy's like you could feel his strength, or was it just like, I mean, he's just kind of like going easy?
No, he was just acting.
Yeah.
So basically, he walks up and they tell you, you know, when he grabs you, come up like halfway, and then they bring the catapult in and put the stuntman on it, and then
Launch him in.
Got it.
flies him through the window.
What?
Yeah.
So Arnold didn't even throw the stunt man?
Movie magic.
Now,
Movie
unlike
magic.
Pete and Chuck, when you see me knock Patrick Kilpatrick down, that's me knocking his stuntman off of the crash pad. I hit him so hard he flew past the crash pad. And the first take, I was like trying not to hurt him. He was going, "No, come on, man, I got a pad right here, so go ahead and hit me." I was like, "All right." And so I came through, boom, he went flying.
Good
I
stuff.
love it.
Be careful what you ask for.
That's right.
That's wild.
So moving forward, you hit up Chuck. Now, was that just a pure audition, or did you know somebody, or they kind of say, "Hey, we wanted you for this part," or how'd that work out with getting that network?
It was just an audition. It was an audition, and I read for the role of Harry Tank, actually, and didn't get it. And then I think I was up for like 4 or 5 pilots that season, and you know, Chuck was just a guest star, possibly recurring, and so I didn't even work on it until the night before. So I go in, I do the audition, and didn't hear anything. I was actually getting ready to go to Maui. And my agent goes, "Hey, so that Chuck thing, they're going to hire you. It's possibly recurring. It's kind of high and by. So it'll be like a couple lines an episode, and that'll be about it." I was like, "All right, well, it's better than nothing. But, you know, it works Wednesday, and I know you're leaving on Thursday." So literally they shot me out. I worked until like 3 a.m. and drove back home to San Diego so I could catch my flight tomorrow.
Oh, nice. So you go to Maui and you're thinking like, just you hope this pilot gets picked up type thing, like.
No, because it was just, you know, possibly recurring, and then it's high and by. I was like, you know, if it gets picked up, it gets picked up. If not, you know, I'll get something else. And then it gets picked up, and they said, "Oh, by the way, you're not you're playing, you know, Big Mike still,
yeah.
but looks like right now they've hired you for all 13 episodes, but recurring." And I did every episode that first season. About halfway through, I said to my agent, I said, "Hey, yeah, we should probably talk about, you know, more money."
Yeah, getting you into the cast, right? Getting the full cast.
I did a stunt last night, and we didn't get a bump. And sure enough, you know, by the end of the week, they had cut a deal for series regular for the following season.
Nice.
So Mark, can you speak a little bit on the life of having pilots and having stuff that you feel really good about not getting picked up? Was that part of life for you? It sounds like it was, if you had a bunch of different stuff in development.
No, look, for me, it's more because of the George Wendt shows. Like I worked on the George Wendt show. Well, actually, we get back to Sammy Davis Jr. had a pilot called Sammy's Place, and they hired me to play a son. And then Sammy broke his hip.
Is this in the 80s or?
This is 80s.
Okay.
And so they retooled the show, and they brought in Tim Reed, and it became a show called Frank's Place. And he didn't have a son, so I was out. But they had to pay me because we had already signed contracts. Shortly after that, I did the George Wendt show, which kind of the same thing happened in terms of the way you find out stuff is not going the way you think it's going to go.
Yeah.
We shot 13 episodes, and then about the 5th episode, the Oklahoma bombing happened.
Oh yeah.
And they preempted the show, and then I had a bad feeling. I was like, I don't think we're coming back. And then I get a call from the creator of the show saying, hey, there's some things in the trades that didn't come from me. I love the cast, and but it doesn't look like we're coming back the way we are. And George, to his credit, apparently they wanted to retool the show, which would have been the second retooling because I didn't do the original pilot. I was in the retool of the original pilot. And George said, well, if you're going to change out the actors, then I don't want to do it because the problem is not with the actors. The chemistry and the acting is great. Some of the problems are technical. And he had a point because Robbie Benson directed one of the episodes, and his episode was the best one. And I think part of it is that he's an actor, and so he knows how to talk to actors, and he knows, what sort of, for lack of a better term, motivates characters. Then you have somebody like Terry Hughes who is, puts beautiful pictures together on screen, but he doesn't really know the acting side because he said to me that there was one episode where my character was pissed at George. I come in and I make a beeline over to him, and he says, Mark, when you come in, why don't you stop at the water cooler where Brian Doyle Murray, I forget his character's name. He says, where Brian is, he said, I get a great 2-shot right there. I said, yeah, but I'm pissed at George. I would go right to him. He's right there. I can see him when I come into the garage. He goes, yeah, but I get a great 2-shot over there. And so what happened with the lines, it's like I'm saying lines from over here. And when it played fine in front of the audience, but on television, there was sort of a hiccup in the joke.
Yeah.
Because they have to cut and then cut back over here to get the punchline. And it was terrible.
Comic timing. I mean, that's a huge part of any good show that you're going to be into. It's got to feel like it flows and the jokes are hitting. So
that cutaway was just way too far.
So what is a role, we always like to ask is, what is a role that you've seen or you've seen performed and that you're like, man, if I could have had that role, that's a role that I would have loved to play. Is there something that stands out to you as far as it could be an iconic role, it could be something small, like where you're just like, I wish I could have played that part?
There's two. There was one on Ray Donovan. They ended up hiring Mr. Winslow from Urkel. Reggie Bell Johnson.
Yeah, there you go.
They ended up hiring him, and when I saw it, I honestly thought my audition was better than his performance. And I like the guy. I mean, I worked with him on a Christmas movie for On.
Yeah.
And years ago, I stood in for him on a commercial. But he, he's a good dude. But I thought that I was way better in that. So that role, and then in Fences with Denzel, the Gabriel role. I played that in a play here in San Diego, and I thought I would kill that.
Oh.
And a friend of mine who was actually in the play, the day that he saw the movie, he sent me a text from the theater. And he said, "You are so much better."
Did you get an audition for that one at all?
Didn't even read for it.
Oh,
And I think Michael T was probably in the off Broadway production that they did with Denzel. So
Gotcha.
it makes sense. But
Yeah.
had to give me a look.
I can do it. I can do it. Put me in, coach. All right. So,
Exactly.
as far as moving from that, now I tried to watch this, and I'll say, Mark, I did try to watch this. I wanted to see Stacks because I know you got an Emmy nomination for that for the daytime Emmys. What is the trailer showed? It looked like there's a deal going down, but I know there's a twist. And is there somewhere I can watch that? Do you know where I can find that?
Yeah, I'll send you a link.
Okay, well, that'd be awesome.
It's on YouTube.
Oh, is the full on YouTube?
It's only 7.5 minutes.
Okay, I tried to look for it, and I could not find it. And I don't know. Usually, I'm pretty good at finding stuff, but I did not find the full short. So,
yeah, I'll email it over.
Oh, sweet, man. So, how is that like? So, is this when you have a short film like that? Is it usually just basically a director or an artist trying to kind of get their name out there? Is that what the purpose of a lot of these types of films are?
Well, this was just, we were going to just shoot something, because we had time on our hands. Because the pandemic had started. LA was just about to shut down, for quarantine. And Gerald Webb, who directed it, calls me up. He says, "Hey, I got this idea." He had gone to Costco and left there with his panties in a bunch over hoarding.
All the stuff was gone. Oh yeah, for sure. So that's what Stacks. Okay, now I think I have it in my mind. I think I'm starting to hear what this might have been about.
So then he went home and he threw this idea at me, and I was like, yeah, write it. So he wrote it and then sent it back to me, and I read it and said, "All right, well, we're shooting." And he said, "Okay, let's shoot tomorrow." So we started shooting at like 7 p.m. and LA closed down the next morning.
Oh, wow.
Oh, geez.
And so, we finished at like 3 a.m. and that's just history.
How was
a bunch of awards and
a lot of awards. I was looking at all the awards that you guys got for that. That's sweet. What was it like as an actor in the pandemic? Was it just odd, or was there like you kind of hear of a job and then like was there a lot of protocols that you have to follow if you want to go audition or things like that?
Wow. In the beginning, it was just like, I had been on the road to Canada twice, doing tours, and I get back, I had an audition for a film, had an audition for a pilot, and then another film. And then right the next week, I started getting phone calls and text messages and emails.
Not happening.
We got to reschedule. We got to cancel. And so the pilot went away completely. One of the films came back, like I think in that June, they shot it in Oklahoma. And it's funny because when I got home, a friend of mine said, "So how was the shoot?" I said, "The shoot was great, except for we're shooting in this campground. And the second AD, by the time I left, had pulled 26 takes off of himself."
Oh,
so every night I get to the hotel and just scour my body to see if I got any takes.
They're there, but you can't find them. Oh, that's the worst.
And then right that next week, there was a thing in the news that Oklahoma had just exploded with an outbreak of COVID. Oh, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so glad I'm out of there." But it was just, I had to sort of reinvent myself. It was like I started teaching again. I started teaching online, stand up and acting. And
so, Mark, what's going on very currently? You got anything to plug? What do you got going down?
My dry bar comedy special is up and running on I guess it's been 3 years now, but people are still watching it. So keep watching it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's clean out of Compton is what it's called. And then I just finished a Christmas movie called Lying Together. We were shooting in Estes Park, Colorado, which is 9,068 feet.
Oh my goodness. And probably
and I
beautiful.
was so glad. Beautiful, but that first 4 or 5 days was hard to breathe. That air is. Y'all got to put some bacon grease in it or something.
Man,
thicken that shit up.
LA, some air I can see. I was waking up in the middle of the night gasping for air as if like sleep apnea kind because just, so thin.
Yeah.
And after about 4 or 5 days, it mellowed out for me. But whoo, and it's a fun, family friendly film. It'll be probably out hopefully around November or so.
Okay.
And then did a couple commercials. I'm waiting to start. I think Sunday we do a table read for a series for PureFlix called Fragments.
Oh, cool.
And so that's going to be fun. Speaking of working out, I've been working out a lot because I'm playing a cop in this, and
all right,
he boxes, so I've been working on my boxing and dropping some weight and just trying to not have a heart attack on set.
Dude, that sounds awesome though. I always thought, I was like, if I was an actor, I would totally work out for roles. You know what I mean? I won't do it for myself, for my own health, but I was like, if I was an actor, I would totally be getting into shape right now,
Oh man!
So that's my problem. I'm in the wrong line of employment. I need to be an actor so I can get in shape.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. All right.
Well, the funny thing is I seem when I'm heavier, I get a lot of funnier stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then when I'm not, it's like, weren't you fat? What happened?
Yeah. Mark, good looking people aren't funny, man. That's what the moral of the story is.
Well, buff people aren't funny.
Yeah,
don't believe me, ask Joe Piscopo.
Oh yeah. Oh geez.
Joe left his funny on the bench in the gym.
Yeah, Arnold makes Joe Piscopo look like yeah. I mean, Arnold's comedy, like he actually came into his own as a comedic actor, but Joe Piscopo just could not find it whatsoever.
Yeah, just couldn't find it. I said, I bet he's still going to the gym going, hey, I was working out on this bench about 20 years ago. Have you seen my funny? I dropped it. Anybody turn that in?
All right, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on here, man. This has been
super
a lot of
cool,
fun.
Mark.
It's always cool to talk to somebody who's had just you've been working in Hollywood constantly, and it's like everybody always wants to focus on Denzel or focus on Will Smith or focus on Arnold or whoever. It's like you guys are what make movies happen because you guys are the ones that actually are out there working hard constantly. You don't get the trailer. You don't get the I know what Arnold got paid with, but the jet for T2, like they paid him with a jet. Like it's like, wow. Like who's getting paid with a jet? Like, oh, my salary's a jet. That's craziness. But I really appreciate the fact that you made people laugh throughout your career. You've done some great work, and we really appreciate you having here, man.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I'm sorry we had the little snafu with this internet.
That's okay.
You're good, man.
That's all good.
I thought it went great. Thank you so much, man. Hey, I got to ask you one more question before you go.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite shows of all time, Martin. You were on one episode of Martin. What was your part on Martin?
So here's what happened, and it happened twice to me.
Okay.
The first time it happened, it was on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh.
I booked the job, and by the time I get to the studio, the part had been written out.
Oh shit!
But because you're a guest star, they have to pay you, and you get the credit.
Okay.
Oh, so you didn't even get to be on Martin?
Didn't even, and my best friend at the time, Tommy Ford, he played Tommy.
Dude, oh my God.
And so I just hung out, I got there, Martin, when nobody called him. And so I just hung out, ate lunch, and hung out with Tommy all day.
Okay.
And I think I snuck into Universal because they were shooting on the Universal lot. There was a open gate right next to Tommy's dressing room, so I went in and rode a couple rides and came back out.
Oh my gosh, dude. I was jealous that you were on Martin. Now I'm jealous that Tommy's your best friend. That is freaking awesome.
Rest in peace.
Man.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you so much, Mark. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bev's Video Kingdom is brought to you by Terminator Boutique. Need to kill a threat from the past, but you don't know which ascot will go well with your shotgun? Having trouble blending in as you try to terminate that little kid who grows up to fuck up all of your side's evil plans? Have you realized that as you traveled through time, you're now butt-ass naked and that shit doesn't fly in 1995? Then you need to immediately hit up Terminator Boutique, located at the Galleria Mall. We'll have you looking bad at the bone before you can say hasta la vista, baby. And you'll be off and terminating without all the fussy mess of taking out an entire biker bar and exposing your exposing your location to others. Terminator Boutique, because you can't kill unless you look cool.
I just want to add to Terminator Boutique, we've got a huge selection of empty lots with tons of paper and newspapers that will fly around when you automatically apparate.
Teleport in.
It's like every time the Terminator comes in, there's always like a bunch of garbage around that gets in like a big swirl, and then it's like, oh, there's the Terminator.
I do love that little glowing shit where it's just like everything's just gone. All right, folks, that was This Time Drinking with the Performer, sponsored by Last Call Brewing. We kind of forgot to mention what we were drinking at the time, but that's okay. So I'm going to ask now, gentlemen, what are we drinking? Let's go around the table. Scotch, what you got there? Oh, look at you.
Look at this.
Look at you.
I know. I am drinking, and this is something I've not really bragged about, but I'm super proud of you guys getting the BVK IPA, obviously. Love you guys, love the show. But this is the second beer that I've had made. And actually, Brad is also in the 2-beer club.
I am in the 2-beer club.
So we can just look at Zach and say, ha, ha, ha.
You and your one brewed beer.
I have the same amount of beers as I do Draft Twins.
So I'm drinking Blaker Brewing. They did Smokescreen Summer Ale for my band Flying Blind. Delicious beer. And we had just an amazing concert and a release party for that. And those guys are just awesome. And we really appreciate them. And
it's got an album cover on the can. It's pretty legit.
This is the original Push artwork from. So we released the album on our own. And self-released and had this awesome photo shoot. And what's really cool about this is the girl.
You got to tell the story. Yeah. It's a legit story.
So there's, for people, I know this is a visual media here. There's a girl pushing this car and the album's called Push. And so on the photo shoot, that's Sonia, and she's a friend of ours. And the guy whose car it is my friend Trevin's cousin. And it was his car. And so we had it all set out, and we were out in the middle of nowhere and we're doing this photo shoot. And so she met Sean, the guy who owned the car, on set, and they ended up getting married because of our photo shoot. So yeah,
and still together. And they were at the release party.
They were at the release party.
It was pretty damn legit.
And now her ass is on a beer can.
It's tasty beer. Mm-hmm. Zach, what you got?
I am drinking the Westies with my besties that my boy Brad, my bestie Brad, brought me from Last Call in Oakdale, California. What's the deal with this beer, Brad?
Yeah, folks, while we were in LA, Last Call had a anniversary for their the third year of, actually, I think it's like their 8th year as a brewery. It was like their 3rd year in their downtown taproom location. They brewed 4 beers, and this is one of their beers that they did. It's just a delicious single IPA. It's West Coast.
It's pretty delicious too.
It's just crisp. It's got that good IPA flavor. It's Westies with my besties. Cool can. Last Call Brewing. Always doing good stuff. They got 4 new beers that you can go down there and buy. So get down there, check them out.
Yeah. So, and I've already crushed one of those before I drank the Flying Blind beer, and it was excellent. And by the way, if anybody is mad at me right now because they went to Last Call because I promoted a show on the 6th, I'm actually not there because I'm recording this right now. And so I did promo the show and I moved it to another date, which is already passed if you're listening to this, because I don't know when this is going to fucking air.
Yeah, hopefully you were there.
Yeah. So anyway, if you came,
it was a great show.
Thanks.
Scotch, it was an amazing show.
Thanks, buddy.
It was delicious.
As mentioned numerous times, time is a flat circle here on Bev's Video Kingdom. There is no reality.
All right. Well, we want to thank our guest, Mark Christopher Lawrence. It was awesome to talk to you, and thank you for being on here. That was Drinking with the Performer. So, final thoughts real quick before we move on to some of our new categories. I wanted to mention one thing, that there's a couple folks in this movie that, aside from smaller bit parts like Mark, did you guys know who was one of the SWAT team captain?
SWAT team captain.
He's the guy that when they find Miles Dyson and he's like all shot up and he's holding like the little detonator, the first like cop that comes up to him,
Was it Hank?
it's Hank from Breaking Bad.
I knew it.
Hank Schrader.
When I was watching, I go, that kind of looks like Hank, and I should IMDb this, but I didn't. And I'm so glad you brought it up now.
Dean
Holy crap.
Norris. Dean Norris is the like, and he's still got hair, so he's kind of like balding.
Right.
He's got like the little like back hair stuff going on before he shaved his head. So yeah, that's a pre Breaking Bad Dean Norris as the SWAT team captain.
Unbelievable.
So that's kind of cool.
There's also a tall, skinny, bald guy that gets out of a truck on the freeway and gets stabbed. And I rewound it twice, and I was like, "Is that Larry Hankin? Is that Larry Hankin in this movie?"
not
It's
Larry
not him. I told my wife, I was like, "Is that Mr. Heckles?" She's like, "No, that's not him."
Oh, good try though.
Man.
So, any final thoughts before we move forward here? Any last things that you want to mention? I'll say one thing: T-1000, the opening scene when they're in the mall and he chucks Arnold Schwarzenegger out of the window, and then he turns around and he sees like the silver mannequin. It's one of my favorite little small scenes that he just kind of looks at it for a second. He like takes like a little double check, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, okay, and then he just kind of keeps moving on. I love that little detail as far as like a little just small moment.
Yeah. One thing I had that I was thinking about was, and I wish I could totally remember, I don't think that we really knew that Arnold was a good guy, and it was revealed. And
Right.
and because I know
They
this
did this
now.
important. Yeah, they intentionally tried to prevent as much as possible from knowing that
Right.
he was going to be a good guy.
And you thought that Robert Patrick was going to be the, like in the first movie and trying to stop Arnold again. And so I remember that twist as being something that was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I was sitting there watching it going, okay, obviously I already know the plot, so it kind of took it away from it. But I was just really trying to remember if that was something they really hyped at the beginning.
So, do you not find out until she finds out that he's a good guy? Come with me if you want to.
Well, until
live.
he saves John.
Yeah, when he
in the-
saves
in the
John,
mall.
that's the first time.
Oh, you're
But
right.
when
So he
he's
finds
walking
out
out, when
before
he's
her.
walking down the hall and he like steps on the roses right after he pulls out the shotgun, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that shit is like, oh, this is bad news.
Right.
So you don't know who's on whose side at that point, and that's when you find out. As soon as he grabs him, he turns, and then he starts getting shot by the other by Robert Patrick. That's when, and I explained that to my son when I watched it with my son. I was like, you got to understand that this reveal for people who had seen Terminator 1 going into this, it was like, oh shit, like
Yeah.
he's the good guy. What?
Exactly.
This is wild.
Yeah, that's something that I don't know if people like really understand how huge that was when it was revealed to us.
That's a big deal. Yeah, because Terminator fucks up a lot of people in the first one.
Yeah.
All right.
He just fucks up people's knees in this one. Just he's like, oh, your ACL, your ACL.
Yeah, he puts a lot of people on some disability for a
You've
while.
got a leg wound. You've got a leg wound.
Literally.
Oh man! So one more thing though that we've been doing recently is the soundtrack in this movie is pretty interesting. It's a very distinctive soundtrack, but that last scene when Sarah Connor's kind of talking about the future. What song would just be the most inappropriate or stupid song to put on there? And I was trying to think about it, and I thought up I Can See Clearly Now by Johnny Nash. Also, I can see clearly now the rain is gone. What if that's playing as they're
That would
driving
change
down
the
road?
scene. That would,
That would definitely change.
Anybody think of anything else? Is there anything else that you might drop
I think
at
they
the
just
end?
come in with, girls, they want to have fun. Oh, girls. I think that would be huge.
That was pretty good. Or I was thinking if she had bop on the radio, like just like bop, bop, bop,
oh
bop.
my gosh.
Scott, you got anything?
No, I don't. But I was thinking about this GNR when that song because GNR
You Could Be Mine.
You Could Be Mine. This was a huge deal. This was actually almost bigger than the movie itself because we'd been waiting for a new GNR album, and this was where it was debuted. And we were sitting in the theater, and you hear there's a GNR song in it, and it's playing, and that was almost as fucking cool as the T-1000, you know. So yeah, that was just something I remember getting hyped up about. Was hey, we get to hear the new GNR song in this movie.
There you go. All right, folks, we are on to everybody's favorite segment. It is Shag, Snag, Body, Bag.
Is it a one-night stand, or do you hit it with a shovel, or take it home to mom and dad? It's like fuck, marry, or kill. It's Shag, Snack, Body, Bag.
Gosh, dang it. Scotch,
Just makes you feel good.
it makes me feel great. Every time I hear that, I'm just like, it's just a happy little like burst of energy for me. I dig it so much. But now that you know what it is, hey, Zach, what are you shagging?
So I am shagging. I want to just be like, like how we always are, like, oh, I want to shag the dystopian future because it's freaking awesome. But I'm going to go with even more specific than that, and that is time travel movies, because I just love all the time manipulation. And a lot of my shag snag body bag is going to be, centered around time travel because it's so fucking great. I really like the basic concept that they set up in this movie for why all this shit is happening. I like that. It unravels super quickly for me, but I'm still okay with that. I'm okay
The fact
with
that
it.
Kyle Reese is sent back to protect his mom, but then he ends up impregnating his mom, and like now he's the dad of him. It's like that whole shit gets.
But
you
they
in a
were sent
fucked
back at
up
the
loop.
same time, and they only had 2 of them to send back. Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah. So the thing is, in both the movies, Terminator and T2, you don't think about it at all during the film.
Right.
It's all shit that you think about later.
Right.
Which
100%.
Which is
Good.
That's good filmmaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, you start thinking about it, and you got this chicken or the egg shit going on.
Well, isn't it like John's like super close buddy that he sends back to?
It was just like a
Right.
soldier that
Yeah.
he like trusted.
And you don't
yeah.
think he was like, "Hey, don't fuck my mom," like right before he went into the fucking portal?
Right.
I'm
Hey,
just saying.
remember, don't fuck mom.
Yeah. He's
But I
like,
mean,
okay, dude, it's fine. And then he's like, your mom's kind of hot, bro.
But
I
then he
don't know.
dies back then, and it's like, so that guy never exists. Like if you start going to Back to the Future things, it's like, well, he dies back.
Oh,
in the,
don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. We will discuss it at length in just a second.
Yeah,
Okay,
Same thing
okay.
with like, and my biggest thing was like, how do they know the timing? Okay, so do they know that they're gonna send somebody to kill him, or did they go back and kill him? But if they killed him, then how do they know to send somebody back to stop him from killing him?
They intercepted a pigeon. There was a pigeon with a note.
So
and
that's
they're
the
like,
type of-
oh shit,
yeah.
they're sending a Terminator.
So that shit fries my noodle. But hey,
All right.
it's a great
Don't
shag,
think,
bro.
Don't think about it.
I dig it.
Don't
No,
think about it too hard.
That's the beauty of time travel movies. Though.
Yeah.
They get you talking, and they get you to discuss weird, crazy shit.
100%. Some movies do it really well. Some movies do it like T2.
All right, Scotch, what you got? What you shagging?
I have one shag written down, and it's really simple. It's fucking miniguns,
Oh man,
Gatling guns. First of all, why are they called miniguns?
Yeah, I was
That's
just
a
about to
weird
say
name.
that gun's big as fuck.
They're always called miniguns, and they're
It's a
the
weird- yeah.
fucking baddest motherfucking gun ever. And
Vulcan
like,
cannon or Gatling
gun.
Yeah,
and like, so when he busts that fucker out and just starts raking it across the cop cars, it's amazing. And then, like, of course, my favorite Gatling gun ever is Predator. Old Painless, when he pulls that
Yeah.
thing out in that movie. So I just love.
I thought you were going to
Gatling
go with Young Guns when they actually have the old original crank Gatling gun.
No, man, but yeah, no. Anyway, yeah. Sign me up.
When you watch when he's like spraying the area with all over the cop cars,
Right.
Just the amount of shells that are falling out of the bottom of that thing, it's just ridiculous.
Well,
it's so wild.
And of course, first of all, I know he's a Terminator and all, but Gatling guns—that's the most inaccurate weapon in the history of weapons. And he's doing pretty good, not killing anybody.
He had
but
0% casualties.
exactly.
He hit 42
scans that
knees, no casualties.
All right. Well, my shag is actually all the things that Terminator 2 won the Oscars for. It won Oscars for special effects. It won for music, for sound, editing. All that stuff was where they got their Oscars. And I think it maybe deserved a few more Oscars besides that. But the special effects,
Best actor.
obviously the CGI stuff was amazing, ahead of its time. It basically changed movies forever. But some of the practical effects, Stan Winston they brought in, who's done Jurassic Park, Aliens, Predator, the original Terminator. I mean, that dude was a legend of practical effects. So they built all the models and stuff, like of the T2 or the T1000 when it's like split open and stuff. Built all that shit. The sound, the music. Brad, I think it's Feidel, is the guy who did the music for both Terminator and Terminator. He didn't do a whole lot of other stuff,
Really?
but oh man, there's just so many moments. My favorite music moment is when the elevator the T-1000 opens up the elevator and then starts to chase, because like the music's kind of like do 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 do, and all of a sudden it goes do 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 do, and like, now he's chasing him, and it's just like that fucking music gets me pumped up, and it's got the little screeching in the background, so you just know it's intense, and it just do do do. It's just that driving beat, and fuck, it's so great, and I love it so much. So
love that.
all the peripherals of the film, all the
What
special
about
effects and all that shit.
Okay, let me ask you this. This is on brand. At the beginning of the movie, it's like zooming in, the fire's going, and there's a skeleton robot face, right? Is he a Rasta robot? Do you guys notice his Brad Franca dreadlocks coming out of the back of his hair? Like, if you watch that again, it's like fire in the background, and then it comes in. The robot has dreadlocks behind its head, and it's like, and the robot's just like looking right at the screen.
Wait, just that very, very beginning.
Yeah, the very beginning, and it's like he's got dreadlocks coming off of the back of his head.
I gotta go back and see that, because I don't think I've ever noticed that.
Dude, watch it again, bro. Watch it again.
Missed that one.
Anyways,
It was the skull. It was the skull of a predator.
when I watched it last night, I was like, why does he have dreadlocks? What is happening on the back of his head? I don't understand.
Well, speaking of movie tie-ins, I'm going to jump right into my snag. My snag is, and we kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, is just movie tie-ins done right, because I don't know if you can necessarily get that type of situation. We talked about earlier that television, you had to watch the commercials. So we're seeing all the Taco Bell and Subway commercials and stuff that are like promoting T2. And then MTV's showing the You Could Be Mine video with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. It's got one of my favorite moments ever in a music video, when at the very end, he runs into the band and he scans each of them, and then he gets to Axel and it scans, it says waste of ammo. Like, he's not going to kill them, because it's such a great little moment, because he's doing scans. He's scanning Duff. He's scanning all of them. And then he gets to Axel and it says waste of ammo. And it's just like, that's so hilarious, which, again, that type of tie-in is something that you just wouldn't get nowadays. And it was a blockbuster of all blockbusters. And yeah, I enjoyed the hell of all the little tie-ins, toys, commercials, music videos, all of that shit.
That's awesome. I think I said this earlier, but I'll reiterate. I love a great twist at actually an unexpected time, like the early twist of Arnold being the good guy.
Yep.
And just not being ready for it. And so it's like, you're not ready for a twist at all. And all of a sudden, holy shit, that's the twist of all twists. And he's going to be the protector. And that whole thing just happens. And you're just sitting there going, holy crap. And your whole like mental attitude going into this film completely changes. And it's pretty rare that you get that in a lot of movies. And so I love that.
They could have fucked it up really bad, because one of their early ideas was that there was going to be 2 T-800s.
Okay.
And that would have just ruined it. If you had just 2 Arnolds like fighting against each other, that would have been super stupid. So
yeah,
the idea that it would have been like both, like one's good, one's bad.
That would have been a terrible idea.
Like evil Superman versus real Superman.
Exactly. It would have been shit. So luckily they didn't go that direction, and then they ended up going with the T-1000.
So mine is going to be 2 things. One is the badass female lead character, right? Sarah Connor just being like super, like almost, I mean, she's like physically imposing, right? She's super ripped. But my second part of it is the prison workout that she's doing in the very beginning is like one of the most iconic things. Like, how many pull-ups does she do? And she's like doing them slow and measured, and like she's all sweaty. Like, she's obviously done like 1 billion pull-ups. She's probably done a bunch of sit-ups and push-ups and stuff. Super ripped, super intimidating, and super capable, right? Like, she could have taken out the one guy, the programmer guy, no problem, if she didn't have a conscience. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Dude, I love that kind of shit.
It seems like she doesn't get quite as much mention as like a Ripley or like some other heroines.
But that's a very similar
character,
character, which is my like parallel, which would be like, yeah, Ripley and all
Ripley and Aliens particularly.
Right.
But yeah, no, I mentioned when we drafted the best moms, I drafted Sarah Connor, and that iconic scene of after she drops from doing the pull-ups, and then she turns around and she just has that look of that craziness. You're like, fuck, I do not want to mess with that woman.
Fuck you up, dude.
She'll stab you in the kneecap with her pen.
She's got some scores to settle. You know what I mean? I love that shit.
And that whole aspect of everybody's going to die, so I don't give a fuck. Like that's some real serious business with like, I don't care because we're all going to die anyway. Yeah. So I don't give a fuck. That's scary.
Yeah, man. She's a scary, like, just her presence, like just her, I don't give a fuck about anything whole is crazy. And what's awesome is the scene where they show her in the dream sequence is actually her sister. And it's crazy because you think, oh, that's her, but it's like she just doesn't have that same look. And it's because it was
she's not
sister.
as ripped and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the scene where they're showing her like go crazy and then like that's not you. She's like, oh no, I'm changed and stuff. As soon as he says, I think you're just playing with me.
She fucking
and she
loses
goes
it.
to evil like just immediately. Like that's fucking God. That's what I'm saying. She deserved some acting credit here. She deserved some
great.
honors because that was a badass role. And I think because it was a big blockbuster action movie, she probably didn't get the all the respect that she deserved from that role. All right, body bags, unzip them. What are we throwing in there?
So my body bag is easy, and obviously these guys didn't watch Back to the Future before they made this movie, because every time that they do something, you know, did they watch Butterfly Effect with my dude Ashton Kutcher? I mean, are we gonna be serious about time travel right now? Every time you go back and fuck around with some shit, that is going to alter everything that happens later, and you're just going to disappear, right? I mean,
You would
it's
think.
the most ridiculous shit. Like, as soon as he fucking causes the 2,000 car pileup on the freaking 405, it's over, dude. Like, that changes everything going forward. None of the shit that happens later is going to happen.
Yeah.
That's my body bag. I hate it every time. I just want somebody with a Polaroid that they can pull up and be like, oh, I'm disappearing. You know what I mean? That's what I need.
I'm jumping along with you because my body bag is my particular timeline issue is that it got totally screwed up based on the years because Terminator 1 takes place in 85. And then this movie is supposed to be 95 because obviously 97 is the deadline. So they have to do it by then. Mm-hmm. So they say when T-1000 looks up John Connor, it says he's 10 years old.
10 years old.
No, that kid is not 10 years old. And
He's supposed to be 10?
He's supposed to be 10.
To be 10 years
Bro.
old.
Yeah, he's 13 years old when he filmed this.
As the actor filming it, but they also make him act like he's like a 14 or 15-year-old.
Right.
Like he's a teenager.
Yep.
I mean, riding off the motorcycle when he's broom, broom, and his foster mom's trying to talk to him and stuff. That's shit a teenager does. A 10-year-old's not doing that shit.
Yeah, it says it in the description for the movie. It says 10 years after the events of the first film. I was like, wait a minute, that means he's 10? No fucking way.
He's less than that, bro. She's got to be pregnant for a while, dude. He's 9.
Exactly. And
So that's what I said. They put themselves in a bad spot because 97 is when the nuke's supposed to happen. So, I mean, I guess they wanted it to happen a couple of years before because they have to be like, oh, Skynet's just starting to kind of figure shit out, like, or they're starting to develop Skynet.
I didn't know he was 10. I got a new body bag. My body bag is that kid was supposed to be 10.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy talk. The fact
I coach
that
a bunch of 10-year-olds every week, and Jesus, dude, that is wild.
Yep.
So going off of that, I'm gonna say I have 3 body bags actually. They're kind
my
of short and
Lord.
sweet. They're just little.
small body bags.
Well, but the bigger one
Light
is
size?
Body boutiques.
Edward Furlong's acting sucks. I think he's just not good. in
He's
the
only
movie.
10, bro.
He's 13.
What do you fucking want from a 10-year-old?
A 13-year-old playing a 10-year-old should be able to play a 10-year-old at 13.
I
He's
will
not
say I
playing a
hate the
10-year-old,
scene when
though.
he's like an asshole to those dudes that try to help him.
Right.
Like that part always annoyed the fuck out of me. That he's kind of a little asshole and he's
And then the
bad
whole
acting.
time he's like, no, you can't kill people. It's like, are you an asshole or are you not an asshole, dude? I don't get it. Are you a 10-year-old with a
your
conscience or do
foster
you not
parents are
have a
dead.
conscience?
He's like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah. Hated that bitch anyways. Now don't kill anyone else. Just my foster parents.
So another issue I had with it was when the T-1000 is chasing him he's on the motorbike. So yeah, he's on the motorcycle with his buddy or whatever, and he ends up like the truck hits the back of a motorcycle. So he basically does rubbing on a motorcycle, and it fucking doesn't
racing.
wipe
A
him
little
out.
Honda, yeah, and he's getting hit by
Just bumps him.
a big rig, and it's
Big
just
rig.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
Robin's racing, son.
I was like,
He's
no.
just like, ah.
Yeah, I was like, no, fuck that. And then my biggest one is fucking Bad to the Bone. When Arnold comes out,
What is this, Problem Child? What the
Dude,
fucking movie are we watching?
that song is so. But the thing is, at the time, I think in the theater, people were like, "Yeah, it's so cool."
Hell
but
yeah,
now
they're like, he's wearing leather. He has
Yeah.
boots on.
yeah, and now it's just like, ugh, Cheese City.
We've been doing that little segment of choosing like the corny song that's inappropriate to play.
Yeah.
That basically is like one of those corny like choices, and that it was more like a Spielberg thing. Like that seems like something Spielberg does. Not that James Cameron's like a tour over Spielberg, but like Spielberg likes those little like cheesy little things like that. And I was surprised that they did something like that.
It was bad.
Yeah, this last watch was the first time I was like, that's such a cheesy song to throw in there, especially if you're not supposed to know that he's like the bad guy or like the good guy or the bad guy.
Right.
It kind of almost like plays him like, oh, he's a good guy.
Well, yeah, in a way, it definitely plays differently now that you know, because you're like, oh yeah, because he is the good guy.
Because you're
back
like,
then, it's
oh,
weird.
here's a silly song. Look, he's silly. He's getting on his motorcycle.
Oh, he killed 17 cops in the last movie. Look at him. He's getting on a motorcycle.
I'm glad
got
he's
a
wearing leather
jacket.
in case he falls on his motorcycle.
I will say that the dude that he fucks up, the guy that you forgot to say please, and he like, puts out the cigar. That dude, it's funny. There's a True Dark is a movie, or Near Dark is a vampire movie from Catherine.
Zeta-Jones.
No, Catherine Bigelow. Wait, Bigelow? Is that her name? Who did
The fucking bomb movie
yes.
with Modesto?
Yeah. Catherine Bigelow, her first movie was, and she also did Keanu Reeves and Point Break. Isn't that Point? Who did Point Break?
Oh yeah, that's Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah, so she did this movie, one of her first movies in the 80s is called Near Dark. And that dude in the scene with the cigar, he actually gets jacked by vampires in a bar. He's like the tough guy in a bar and gets murdered by vampires in a very vicious way.
I mean,
So I'm like, that's kind of a weird typecast. I'm like, I'm the tough dude in the bar that gets murdered by people or beat up by people.
how tall is Arnold? Like in real life, 6'4"?
I'm going to say that's probably about right.
Okay, I'm picturing him 6'4", which is big as shit. He's fucking like 280, like the biggest fucking dude on the
And that
planet.
dude was like
he's walking around with his dick out.
160.
He's walking around with his dick out with no care in the world, and he walks up to you and he's like, "Hey, I need your fucking clothes and your motorcycle." And this dude's just like, I'm gonna blow smoke in his face, put his cigar. The dude's like wrinkly and old. He's like a 65-year-old man that's not in shape, and he thinks he's gonna whoop Arnold's ass with Arnold's freaking six-pack.
That's a bold move. He's got his homies though, so he's also
buying
packing because he pulls his gun out at one point. So I think he's just like a little confident.
So
You're in
don't
my
buy it.
territory.
Here's a question for you. I directed it to you because I think you'll appreciate this.
Okay.
So, what does the Terminator's cock look like? Do they give him
Have you ever seen Alien?
do they give him like fucking? I mean, you can do whatever you want. It's a fake
Yeah.
cock, right? And so,
Right.
do you give him a lot of cock, or do they say,
Is it
well, you
just
don't really
size
need the
appropriate,
cock,
or is it large, or is it just like?
or do they avoid the cock altogether?
Or is it
He's
like
just-
a Ken doll situation?
Yeah.
right? I want to know. What do you think?
Like
Zach?
like in Dogma.
Yeah.
What do I think?
Yeah, I want to know what you think.
So when in Alien, when the alien opens his mouth and the smaller alien comes out, that's what it looks like. And then when it comes out, and then when that smaller alien opens its mouth, then like the blood, when they kill Ash and all those other aliens, all that milky shit that comes out, that's what comes out.
So basically, just come.
There you go.
Yeah. Alien come.
Yeah, I that's an interesting question. I think they would want it to be appropriately because they don't want him to be found out because obviously they show up
point,
naked.
In the future, you guys will claim that Arnold as Terminator is a cyborg. Correct? In the future, you will do that.
What does what does cyborg stand for?
Do you confirm or deny that you said that
That
Cybernetic
might happen.
organism.
That discussion is going to be had.
it's going to be had? He's not a human, but he's fully robot. But if you guys want to make him a cyborg, I say the only part of him that's left from his human form is his cock.
Flesh.
And then everything else is cyborg.
So if his
is
cock
Terminator.
was human, then you would accept him
Yep.
as a cyborg?
Exactly.
Okay, fair enough.
All right.
He's got a human cock.
All right. So that's Shag Snag body bag. They got it. That went interesting direction towards the end. I think everybody got their body bags, right? We went around the room. So we're now on to streaming recommendations. And who wants to start there with some streaming recommendations? What are you watching now that you watch T2?
I got to go. The thing that started it all with kind of the Arnold Renaissance, Commando. It's on Stars.
Like he was going in that bar.
So
He's pretty much a robot in that movie.
yeah, and but like you think of Arnold and you think of all his classic one-liners and the super cheesy, stupid lines, and one from that movie that always sticks out to me is he kills the dude on the airplane, and he's like the stewardess. He's getting up. He's like, "Don't just do my friend. He's dead tired."
Dead tired.
And it's just like, so that was the movie that kind of started this whole action film, super over the top craziness. And then with the cheesy one-liners, and Commando is just, it's an amazing watch.
I love it. I love to go Commando. All right, I'm going to go. My streaming recommendation is on Hulu right now, and you should run over there and watch Oscar Isaac and Alicia Vikander in Ex Machina, because it's a really dope movie. Beautiful robot. Oscar Isaac is a fucking absolute badass. Go check it out. It's really cool.
That's a very good recommendation.
So good.
Related to the whole cyborg robot style.
I went into that one I
went in blind.
Thing,
Also, Scott Beck,
and it was so entertaining. And I mean, I'm an Oscar Isaac guy, so I'm like, I'm in, and it's so worth.
We're recording this. The second episode of Moon Knight came out today. I've not watched it, but the first episode of Moon Knight have anybody caught that yet?
No.
I like to get a few episodes stacked up so I can watch
all right.
in a row.
Well, I will say I've watched the first episode. It's a trip. It's interesting, and it's worth watching. Disney Plus
Does a lot of mooning.
But that's not my recommendation. My recommendation, I went a different route than y'all. I decided, you know what? This was one of the first really gigantic summer blockbusters. And I said, you know what? I've always considered this other movie the ultimate blockbuster. Not because it's a better film, not because it's like anything super exciting, but it's just the ultimate blockbuster as far as if you're going to take all of these movies like Terminator 2 that came out and Independence Day, and you're just like, we're going to fucking squish them all up and just release this ultimate blockbuster.
You talking about Battleship?
I'm talking about Armageddon.
Oh, dude. That was
Prime
the ultimate summer
Video. It is on Prime Video. Armageddon is just about, like, they just said, we're going to take every trope of every blockbuster and just put it all into one gigantic movie. It's going to be wild. There's going to be musical sections. There's going to be explosions. There's going to be every 10 minutes, there's going to be a stressful scene. And we're just going to make this just nuts. Way too much CGI.
I remember seeing it in the theater, dude. I remember who I was with. I remember what theater it was at. I remember freaking Steven Tyler coming in, freaking. And I don't want to miss a thing.
Oh, dude, it's
that was such a
Like
jam, bro.
singing a love song while his daughter's like getting it on.
Yeah,
Ben Affleck.
dude.
Yeah.
They had a tie-in, like all sorts of things. Like it felt huge, and it was a big movie.
I loved Liv Tyler.
I really like Armageddon.
Dude, Bruce Willis.
Affleck, I'm a big Affleck fan.
It
so
was
I
damn
was stoked
entertaining.
about
that. And speaking of Armageddon, those of you at home, you should Google on YouTube Armageddon radio broadcast. You're welcome. It's
Armageddon
It's
radio
a nice little
broadcast.
story about a gerbil.
Okay,
I'm just saying. I'm leaving that out there.
I think I'm
right.
gonna have to search this up, and we'll talk about it later.
All right.
All right. So
That's your streaming recommendation? Armageddon?
That's my new stream.
Okay. All right. Good to know.
all right, reshelf it. Alternate endings. It's time to you go walk into Bev's Video Kingdom. You're gonna take this movie Terminator 2, and you're either going to rewrite the ending or you're going to place it somewhere else where it doesn't belong. I'm gonna start here because I don't think mine's great, but I want to just reshelf it. I'm not going to do an alternate ending. I'm going to reshelf this thing and say, you know what? I want the Looney Tunes version of this movie, because where they just can't seem to stop T-1000, but they keep in.
Who would be the Terminator? Bugs?
No. I don't want it to be like Looney Tunes characters. I just want where they just keep trying to kill T-1000 in just these ridiculous ways. They're like dropping pianos on them. They're just doing all this thing because they can't figure out how to kill it.
They like paint a tunnel on the wall.
And it just it splats and then it like comes back together. They're trying all these different moves, and that shit just keeps. They're like, how do we kill this thing? And it just keeps coming back and keep coming back. And there's just wilder traps and devices. And I want all the Acme shit. I just want it to go crazy. Them trying to kill this thing over and over and over, and it just keeps coming back.
Oh, I love that.
I just want to see how many different ways can you try to kill a T-1000.
Okay. I want to turn it into a romantic comedy with a little action in it. And so it kind of starts the same, a few more jokes. Instead of a guy friend, John is hanging out with a girl, kind of like she's like the Booth character in Teen Wolf.
Like another 10-year-old.
Like, yeah, another 10-year-old.
Okay.
But it's kind of like the tomboy that really likes him, and whatever.
like on My Girl.
Right. And then
Gotcha.
so, there's some goofy things that happen, like when they actually fight, when Arnold's fighting the T-1000, like Arnold goes through the glass into the mall and like somebody drops a Slurpee on his head. Like hilarious shit.
He's like, where's the juice?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's the juice?
But But the real twist is after they rescue Sarah and they're driving down the road, and there's a scene where he says the Terminator reveals that he has detailed information on human anatomy, and Sarah perks up and gives a or bites her lip like ScarJo and Chef.
I like it.
Oh, human anatomy. So then there's like these hijinks to shenanigans. There's all this sexual innuendo between Sarah, and she's like trying to get him away to like kind of teach him things and educate him. And then finally, then the movie kind of keeps going at how it normally happens, but there's all this weird little sexual tension, whatever. And then at the end, when they're lowering Terminator into the molten steel, and he's starting to go down, and John can't handle it. Like, he doesn't want to watch because he loves him so much. So him and Boof, or whatever that girl is, they go running off because he can't watch it. So you think he goes down.
She brings him back
But
up.
then there's post credits. So it goes to the credits.
But then he goes down.
Then it shows post credit scene, Sarah crafting a cyber dildo and attaching it to his arm. Fade to black.
You think he goes down, but he hasn't gone down yet. I love that. I think there's a scene in the middle. There's a scene in the middle of that movie where he's like got an injury like around his groin, and he's just like
She discovers what that.
Yeah,
what
she's
that
like, why don't you go?
800 penis looks like.
Yeah, she's like, why don't you go change? And then like he's a robot and doesn't get social cues, so he just takes his pants off right in front of her, and she's like, oh my goodness, okay. And then she goes down and has to like stitch it up.
I
She,
gotta say,
moves it to the side.
I think we forgot to answer our own question because in the very beginning scene when he's in the bar, that one waitress comes back around the corner
she
with the
checks
plate.
it out,
She
yeah.
gives a
she
ScarJo.
goes, oh, and like looks them all down. Like she's like, okay, there's definitely something going down.
Yeah, there's something hanging.
Downstairs. Yeah.
I mean, was that ever a question? It's Arnold, bro.
Yeah. Well, we were questioning ourselves.
Come
we were
on.
like, what does he got? And
The guy can't even walk through his
house.
house without impregnating a fucking maid or something. I mean, Jesus Christ.
That was our former governor, man. Pay some respects. All right, so okay. So we always have to say, one of our biggest fans out there, Keith, Terminator 2,
Till dawn.
Judgment Day till dawn.
Oh yeah, instead of sending back a Terminator, they send back a vampire.
Yeah, and they're like, this guy won't die.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if a vampire would be super effective against T-1000. Although he couldn't kill the vampire because he can't make wooden stakes out of his hands, right? He's just stabbing him with metal, and the vampire's like, "You got nothing."
You know what?
Bro.
To do the continuity, maybe Kyle Reese is actually a vampire. That's so he didn't die in the first Terminator. He's now alive, and so he's now like he was a vampire. They just knew he wasn't going to die, so like that's why they sent him the first time.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well. There you go, Keith.
Sorry, Keith, that wasn't our best effort.
It's kind of a little last minute addition, but you know what? We do it for the fans. All right, folks. Well, that's the wrap on the T2. I gotta say, just legitimately, of all the movies we've done so far, this movie stands out to me the most as like something that like I was like, oh my god, I love movies because of this movie. All the special effects, I was like, oh my god, this is what they can do with computers now. This is amazing. Like it hits so many little notes of an action movie and things like that I loved at that time. So it's one that I would say it's in my top 20 movies for sure of all time.
Holy shit, that's a wild take.
No. It's just because of just what it is
because
and
of
what it did.
had
And
nostalgia.
Yeah,
No.
I get
there's some
it.
nostalgia mixed in there, but I
get
think
it. Star Wars is in my top movies because of the same reason.
Yeah, I mean, in that same vein, but it's just like T2 was an amazing event. And I just remember coming out of the theater knowing nothing about Terminator 1 and just being like, that movie was fucking badass. Like, this was amazing. So there you go.
So back to Brad's, like, we're going to make so who made the romantic comedy? You made the romantic comedy out of it? Yeah. So I'm thinking that at the end of your romantic comedy, like Arnold doesn't die. He comes out and then they put the arm dildo on him.
Right.
And he walks towards the screen and fucking, it's just like the song comes in and it's like, I'm just a love machine and I won't wait for nobody but you. And you know what I mean? It just comes in like that and he fucking walks towards the screen and then it just fades to black. I think that works. I like that.
Oh, you did a little add-on. That's a little late add-on. I like it.
Yeah, I'm thinking that would work. He's just like revving the dildo hand. It's like, yeah, he looks like Uncle Buck with the fucking drill, just walking around.
Oh my! Well, that usually means we're at the end of our podcast.
Thanks for coming.
When we've gone a step too far, we're just like, yeah, it's time to end. Yeah. So love it. Scotch, you got anything coming up? Well, we don't even know what
we don't know when this is gonna.
Don't.
If this is before
Beer Fest.
Yeah, we got Brewfest on May 7th.
Oh, I got to tell a quick story because this will come out before Brewfest.
Okay.
So, speaking of Brewfest, Central Valley Brewfest taking place Turlock Fairgrounds. You should all show up. I think we might have some BVK members there.
Brad and I will be there.
Scotch Beck is going to be playing with Flying Blind. His your secondary role as far as things that you're into.
Yeah.
Right.
And
sometimes podcast host / drummer.
Right. And I will say this, that I had a good conversation with the Hoist and Heavies boys. They're going to be there. And this is actually a little quick story. I met them Last Call Brewing. I was talking to them for a little bit. And
Hoist and Heavies guys have a podcast out of Oakdale, by the way.
They have a podcast out of Oakdale. They talk about beer and they bullshit with they talk with brewers. It's a fun podcast. It's just one of those ones where you can have some fun conversation. Anyway, they were talking to me and I said, "Are you guys going to the Central Valley
Brewfest?
Central Valley Brewfest?" And they're like, "What is it?" And I told them, and they're like, "I think that's open." And I was like, "You guys should totally go down there and talk to some of the brewers and stuff." And they're like, "We probably should." And right there in that moment, they emailed one of the persons that runs that thing. And all of a sudden they thanked me, like, "Dude, we're going to get a booth down there. We're going to be podcasting there."
Live podcast at Brewfest.
So they're going to have their gear there and they're going to be recording. So
good luck conducting an interview with Flying Blind rocking in the background. Motherfuckers.
Hey, well, I'm saying there might be some Flying Blind interviews. There might be some BVK interviews, but there's definitely going to be some Hoisting Heavies guys talking with some of the local breweries and some of the brewers that have showed up for the Brewfest. So come out. It's going to be a great time.
It starts around noon. Goes till 5.
To 5. If you buy the VIP, you get in at noon. If you buy the general admission, you get in at 1.
If you know Flying Blind, you go whenever the fuck you want.
Mm-hmm.
And good eats, good drinks, Food Fix. We've talked about Food Fix on this pod a couple times. They're going to be there. It's going to be some great grub, great drinks.
Sweet.
All the Oakdale breweries, Last Call, Dying Breed, Grains of Virtue, they're all going to be there. Blaker, Dust Bowl, I think probably all of them are going to be there.
Yeah. And some breweries from out of town, they get an amazing turnout. They actually have wine. It's a great event, really fun. The following week on the 14th, I'm playing at Parkenstock, a benefit for Parkinson's. It's a solo show that I'm doing with 5 other acts, a band, a bunch of solo artists, and that starts around I think noon or 1 o'clock on the 14th, and it's just gonna be a great event. So come on out and support Parkinson's, and they raised like $11,000 last year, and they're trying to get $20,000 this year, and I think they're easily going to do it. So
there you go, folks. A great couple weekends there. You've got Brewfest, and then you've got Parkenstock at Blaker Brewing in series. So great times, great events. Come out, share some time, share some music. A lot of good music. You got to understand, we're doing a little stupid movie podcast here, but we've got we got multiple talented musicians that are involved with this pod. So support them when you can. And other than that,
and quick teaser, next week we got a draft of robots. Correct.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We can talk about that.
We can talk about that.
That timeline fits. Like we're not going to fuck it up T2 style. That timeline actually works. So yes, next Tuesday, we're going to be drafting robots or cyborgs or
whatever the fuck Brad and Scott want to draft. It doesn't even matter what the fucking category is.
You might hear some arguments about what those actually mean, but tune in next week. That's coming down the pipe. All right, folks. Take care.
Love y'all. Bye-bye.
I can grab your favorite podcast. Let's start this thing.